As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to play a Pokemon game with only monkeys, but sadly, no baseline game lets you have every single one. Damn you, Dexit! So in order to live my dream, I paid Wiz to create a custom version of The Pit, a thrilling and dangerous Pokemon roguelite. My goal? Clear through 100 floors filled with randomized trainers. Every 25th floor features an ultra-challenging pit boss, who when defeated grants me another monkey to add to my team. And if I lose even a single battle, well then it's back to square one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pit. And let's get something out of the way now, okay? When I say monkey Pokemon, what I really mean is monkey-like Pokemon. So yes, I know that apes and other primates are not technically monkeys, but Pokemon like Rillaboom, Oranguru, and Grafaiai still count for this playthrough, okay? Oh, Flygon, what about humanoid Pokemon? Humans are apes, so does Hitmonchan count? No, Hitmonchan is not a monkey, don't be stupid. Monkey is a very clear and obvious vibe. I swear if I see even one comment about this, I will crash out so hard. My three starters in the monkey pit are the Unnovan elemental monkeys, Monkey 1, Monkey 2, and Caesar. The monkey pit's gameplay loop is pretty simple. Each floor has 1 to 4 trainers with 3 Pokemon all at the level corresponding to that floor. If I beat all the trainers on the floor, I'm rewarded with 3 randomized items before moving on and repeating the process. Every 5th floor has a rest stop where I can heal, teach my monkeys some new moves, and purchase various items. But in between, I'll need to rely on my collected rewards to keep my teammates in tip-top fighting shape. So the big ticket bounty items are things like revives and full restores. Utility umbrellas, remarkably less useful. On floor 2, there's also just a single trainer, Ranger Anna, who has a Magikarp and a Shuppet. One of those Pokemon is famously completely useless, but the other might as well be a cyanide pill inside of a banana. See, each and every one of my monkeys only has one attacking move, which means I have no way of hitting Shuppet. This is an unwinnable dead end. My very first adventure into the monkey pit is now over before it even had a chance to get started. Or is it? Shuppet only has 15 Astonish PP, and by scratching his 2 teammates to death while also dropping his attack with Plain Ice, we may yet be able to win this by getting the Possessed Napkin to start struggling. I can't say it's a particularly efficient way to clear the second of 100 floors, and it does cost dear Caesar his life, though that's not a huge deal since I can just heal him with a revive. I mean, I don't, but I can if I want to. Instead, I choose to simply move on to floor 3. Yet again, it's just a single trainer, Magma Grunt Lucas, who challenges us to our first single battle and leads with a Magnemity, which is bad. The steel type resists our scratches and does enough damage to my team with Thunder Shocks that by the time their teammate, a Wormadam, comes in, there's nothing I can do but watch as the insidious insect feasts on the flesh of my battered babies. Both of my remaining monkeys soon fall, in numerical order, so with that, attempt 1 of the monkey pit ends on floor 3. Technically a world record since no one has ever played this game before, eh? But we can certainly do better. The elemental monkeys will all learn Lick at level 7, so all I have to do is get lucky enough to avoid ghosts and steel types for like 3 trainers. 9 Pokemon, that's all it takes. On attempt 2, my starters all have what I would argue are pretty abysmal natures. 2 with nerfed speed and another with nerfed attack. But you can't choose your family, and in the monkey pit, you can't choose your starters. On floor 1, Aroma Lady Nora has 3 easy Pokemon, including a monkey of her own. Coincidence? Probably. On floor 2, Black Belt Bryce also has 3 relatively easy Pokemon. And then on floor 3, Lady Jennifer has... Oh no! In a game where maintaining HP is everything, a Pokemon with Iron Barbs is a nightmare when all I have is physical moves that make contact. I target down Ferroseed's partner first, which takes 2 turns thanks to Heatmore's iron-heavy diet of ants and more ants. I also need another 2 turns to best Totodile, though that KO does get both Monkey 1 and Caesar to level 7, where they finally learn Lick. So main mission accomplished. Against Ferroseed, I first hit her with a few Leers to hopefully reduce the amount amount of times we trigger Iron Barbs, though that does mean tanking a few tackles. It's ultimately Caesar who nabs the KO and wins us the battle, though since 2 of my teammates are quite low, I decide to burn a potion as we head to the next floor. Once again, it's just a single trainer, a land-swimming reverse Jesus named Peter, and his 3 disciples are no issue. So just a few turns later, we've collected our floor 4 booty and made it to the Monkey Pit's very first rest stop. Yay! But other than healing my team, there's not much I can do here. I'm too poor to buy anything, even after making the tough decision to part ways with some of my collected booty. Whatever will I do without my 2 ring targets? Not my adrenaline orb. Budgeting your money in the Monkey Pit can be hard, just like it is in real life. But fortunately, today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is here to help. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, make a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. My household has a lot of random subscriptions, so it's great that Rocket Money automatically makes a list of them and I can keep track of them all in one place. Let's say somebody got a subscription so that she could stream some corgi races, and someone else got one to easily order buckets of paste. I ate paste one time, let it go! With Rocket Money, I can cancel those subscriptions in-app with just a few taps, and they might even be able to get me a refund for any lost money. Rocket Money has helped its members save up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features, and helped members save over $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. That's a lot of kibble, Poppy. With the holidays coming up, now is a great time to take control of your finances. So be sure to try out everything Rocket Money has to offer for yourself by going to rocketmoney.com/FlygonHG or clicking the link in the description to get started for free. Thanks so much to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the Monkey Pit. It's time to plunge deeper into the Monkey Pit. And now that all of us can lick, it's way less likely that we'll run into something run-ending. Really, the main concern is a Pokemon that's significantly overpowered at this point in the game. You know, something with solid stats and access to a strong stab move. Something like... yeah, something like that. Vigoroth begins ripping uproars, so in order to avoid any deaths, I gotta start chucking potions at my monkeys like I'm the Cyanwood City gym leader. This is one of the few times where a double battle is actually beneficial, since I can both deal damage and heal my Pokemon on the same turn. Eventually, the Vigoroth falls, though not without almost entirely draining my healing supplies. Really rough shake for the very first fight of this 5-floor split. But now that Monkey 1 has learned an actual stab move, and his teammates should follow soon enough, things will hopefully get a little easier. And on floor 7, the very first floor with more than one trainer, that does seem to be the case. In fact, Crush Girl Sabrina's Chansey even grants a ton of XP that now gives my monkeys a fairly respectable level advantage, if only for a little. Yep, things are starting to look up for us. But then we get to floor 8. And after scoring a free revive from the Wild Delibird, I face off against Bug Maniac Luke, who does not lead with a bug, because Luke is a liar. Instead, he leads with a Hisuian Quillfish, who appears to be speed-tied with Monkey 1, resulting in an unexpected KO. You bastard! And the only thing worse than a dead monkey is 2 dead monkeys. Because I'm a dum-dum and don't realize that Caesar has the exact same speed stat as Monkey 1, I bring him in, so he too dies as a result of another lost speed tie. Which means that all of a sudden, my entire run comes down to Monkey 2. The best he can do is scratch the poison type, which triggers Poison Point, such that once this demonic fish goes down and Mareep comes out, we have just 2 HP. I've got no choice but to use one of my revives on Caesar as Monkey 2 tragically falls. But he did his job perfectly. Our run should be safe. Since Bug Maniac Luke's 3rd Pokemon is a Cloth, I have to use a revival herb to bring back Monkey 1. In case it isn't clear, this is going extremely poorly. Monkey 1 hits Cloth with a water gun. Not enough to KO, but more than enough to trigger Anger Shell. Thankfully, with our level advantage, Rock Throw doesn't threaten a 2-shot, so by very narrow margins, we do come out on top, albeit extremely bruised as a result. I'm lucky that I had enough healing items to survive that onslaught, and even enough to bring both Caesar and Monkey 2 back to the land of the living. But I absolutely won't be able to survive something like that again. We can't be losing critical speed ties, especially because my monkeys are already getting outgunned, and it's only gonna get worse. After clearing through the 2 easy trainers on floor 9, we make it to our next rest stop, so it's time to power up. With the money I've acquired from stomping through our foes, I can buy a water stone to evolve Monkey 1 into the speedy and moderately powerful Simipour. What's more, by talking to the Movery learner, he can instantly learn Scald, which I'm hoping will make these next few splits go by a bit more smoothly. And I'm right. With an 80 base power stab move, our enemies start dropping like geriatric flies. On floor 13, I get a particularly generous windfall thanks to Super Nerd Declan having a Kakuna who only knows Harden. Monkey 2 just recently learned Leech Seed, which means that by consistently switching my Pokemon in and out, we can gain back some lost HP completely for free. Healing moves are a must in the Monkey Pit for these exact situations. As we watch the life slowly drain from Kakuna's body, here's a reminder that you should consider joining my Patreon, where I'm releasing exclusive watch-along commentaries for both my new videos and some of my classics. Anyways, floor 13 is also home to a Jirachi who offers me a choice item. I pick the choice specs, which makes Monkey 1's Scalds hit even harder as we plow through the 2 trainers on floor 14 and make it to the safety of our next rest stop. By selling some items, I have exactly enough cash to grab a Leaf Stone that evolves Monkey 2 into Simisage. So now only 1 baby monkey remains. Floor 16 is the first floor with 3 trainers, so there's also a Miltank who squirts out some piping hot glasses of Moo Moo milk free of charge. And even with our monkeys at just 2/3 of their full potential, there's really nothing that can stop us. Not the Ice Q who freezes Caesar on the switch, not the Type Null that threatens with aerial aces, and not the Tatsugiri that kills Caesar. Okay, I'll admit she does give me some trouble, since with grass coverage from her partner Skiddo, it's actually kinda hard to safely take her out. Doesn't help that I accidentally give Skiddo an attack boost via Sap Sipper. In the end, I've gotta use a handful of healing items, but we do make it through that fight without too much of an issue. Side note, there's a non-insignificant number of random trainers that happen to have monkeys of their own. Coincidence? Still, yes, probably, but I'm starting to get real suspicious. On the floor 20 rest stop, I can purchase the Firestone needed to evolve Caesar. Sadly, Simisear is the ugliest of the elemental monkeys, and that's saying a lot, but I love him anyway. Incinerate and Flame Burst are both really solid moves, especially in double battles where they can hit multiple opponents. So it's not long until we've made it to the first pit boss on floor 25. These randomized bosses are guaranteed to have fully evolved Pokemon, as well as one of a select few aces that can usually Mega Evolve. In other words, they're extremely dangerous. My opponent ends up being Norman, who sends out Musharna and Persian as his first 2 Pokemon. Seed Bomb does a sliver to Musharna, Payday does a sliver to Monkey 2, Scald, thanks to Choice Specs, brings Musharna into the red, triggering his Oran Berry, and then the bulky Ungulate lulls Monkey 2 to sleep with a Hypnosis. So I switch him out into Caesar as Norman uses a full restore, thereby ensuring our follow-up Scald does not get the kill, but that's fine. After a bite from Persian, Scald now kills Musharna, Flame Burst does good damage to Persian, and then Norman brings out his Slacking. So no Mega, but this is obviously pretty scary. Thankfully, we're in a double battle here because the Beastly Brute immediately rips a double edge that murders Monkey 1 from nearly full HP. Caesar can get the KO on Persian with another Flame Burst, so now it's a 2v1, and with our foe being forced to loaf around every other turn, we do have just enough juice to make it through this fight, especially since Norman opts to kill the monkey that's fast asleep. GG's, Norman. And with the first pit boss defeated, it's time to recruit our 4th teammate.
Okay, so our options: Passimian, Galarian Darmanitan, that's an Infernape. There's a Ambipom. Oh, Annihilape. I think we take Annihilape for sure, yeah? Let's get another guy. Or Darmanitan.
These are all some pretty incredible choices, and as nasty as something like Galarian Darmanitan with a built-in choice band would be, Annihilape is a no-brainer. Ghost types are exceptional in any version of the pit, since an immunity to normal and fighting type moves means that a significant portion of potential opponents wouldn't have a way to hit you at all. Stab fighting type moves, incredible bulk, the ability Defiant, and access to Rage Fist, arguably one of the most broken moves in the game, are also all pretty compelling reasons to snag the undead monkey. So welcome aboard, Harambe. Before continuing on our descent, I get access to another rest stop where I buy the TM for Drain Punch. Like with recovery moves, draining moves are incredible for this adventure since they offer a way to deal damage while simultaneously restoring HP. So this single move, even with just 10 PP, makes Harambe an absolute beast. A nearly one-man army that starts mowing down enemy trainers with a lack of remorse or conscience that only comes from crossing the veil and returning. To make matters worse for our opponents, some Munchlax gives me a leftovers for even more passive recovery. Now, this stretch of the Monkey Pit is not entirely flawless. Double battles are still a bit tricky, especially now that every trainer has 4 Pokemon instead of 3. And we also don't have the best coverage in the world. Flying types are particularly challenging since they can hit 2 of my Pokemon for super effective damage, and we don't currently have any super effective attacks in return. But slowly and carefully, we continue to descend deeper and deeper into the Monkey Pit. I eventually end up teaching Monkey 1 acrobatics and giving him a flying gem for maximum power. As a result, it's Caesar who becomes the primary user of our choice specs, granting his fire type attacks even more fire power. Terrible pun, sorry. I also run into a friendly Meowth who gives me an amulet coin, which when held by Harambe doubles the amount of money I get from beating each trainer. Frankly, things couldn't be going any better. And though Harambe is nothing short of a killing machine, the rest of our team is also pulling their weight and rising to the occasion. It's as if Harambe were a catalyst, unlocking the potential of each and every monkey around him. On floor 38, we even find a choice band, just in case I needed even more power. But for now, the benefits of the amulet coin are simply too good to pass up. With each new rest stop, I have enough money to upgrade at least one of my teammates. Monkey 2 learns Giga Drain for reliable recovery, Monkey 1 learns Ice Beam for better coverage, and Caesar just keeps torching everything in his path. Who's an ugly little pyromaniac? You are! By the time we've made it to the second pit boss on floor 50, we're in a phenomenal position. Limited deaths means that my stash of healing items is well stocked, and we've maintained a solid level advantage over our foes. Morale was high as just one last fight separates us from getting teammate number 5. And surely it would be a breeze, right? Well, yeah, actually it is, because Sydney leads with a Stoutland that immediately triggers Harambe's Defiant. Sure, it still affects Monkey 1, but after punching the dog to death, a flying gem-boosted Acrobatics still tears through Surfetched. Harambe's second Drain Punch kills Sydney's Flareon, and a second Acrobatics finishes off the Noble Duck. So yet again, we have a 2v1 against the pit boss's ace, which is unsurprisingly an Absol that Mega Evolves. But he can't kill both my Pokemon, or either for that matter. One last Drain Punch seals the win and ensures that the Harambe train shows no sign of stopping. So all aboard! First stop, a brand new monkey. Oh!
Okay, Zarude, Darmanitan, Grookey, Ambipom, Apepom, Monferno, Primeape.
Yeah, we're getting the mythical monkey. Sandstorm the Zarude is a little redundant with Monkey 2 already on the team, but a dark typing and nasty attack stat should go a long way. Once again, our enemies now all have an additional Pokemon on their teams, but it really seems like Harambe couldn't care less. It's actually kind of messed up how broken this Pokemon is. Fighting and Ghost has phenomenal neutral coverage, and the fact that Rage Fist can stack up to 350 base power means that as long as we aren't at risk to a one-shot, Harambe can win most matchups. From floors 51 to 57, we don't experience a single death. The times are good and my team is feeling great. But then, on floor 58, Harambe meets his greatest adversary yet. A Sizzlipede. Behind that glorious mustache hides the face of a hardened killer holding a secret weapon. A focus sash ensures that she lives our Rage Fist, letting her rip a massive burn up that doesn't come close to killing Harambe. But then, a future sight from Sizzlipede's now deceased teammate strikes. The super effective hit bringing Harambe to his knees for the very first time. A devastating strike to my ego and a crucial wake-up call. A reminder that you can never get complacent. You can never let your guard down. In the monkey pit, anything can kill you, and if you let it, it will. The good news is that we still have a hearty supply of revives, so for now, we're totally fine to keep going. But the trainers in the monkey pit now know that Harambe isn't untouchable. They know he can bleed, so I've really gotta be careful. On the floor 60 rest stop, I make a handful of moveset adjustments. Harambe gets Shadow Punch to help him conserve Rage Fist PP, Sandstorm learns Seed Bomb, and Caesar gains access to the long overdue Flamethrower. So with that, the grind continues. And despite that brush with death on floor 58, this next stretch remains remarkably easy. Sure, it's not exactly flawless. Like I said, flying types are a notable problem, but one by one we slice through each and every trainer on each and every floor like an endless buffet of perfectly cooked fish fillets. I had a seemingly unbeatable team. My monkeys were simply too strong. This adventure too easy. I found myself starting to yearn for a challenge. Like an old man facing the end of his life, thinking back to his childhood days spent on Papa's orchard, I became wistful of the struggles we faced on the first few floors of the monkey pit. I began to crave the thrill of a danger that had long been absent. What is life without risk? Can one truly know peace without also feeling strife? As we make it to the penultimate pit boss on floor 75, I pray that Valerie can provide the challenge I so desperately desire.
Holy shit.
That'll do it. I switch Caesar into Sandstorm as Harambe rips a choice band close Clizzy into Zekrom, which is just shy of the Oko. The Unovan legend then rips a Thunder, thankfully into Sandstorm, as Dragalge's Hydro Pump misses. Valerie uses a full restore on Zekrom, so Sandstorm hits her other foe with a powerful knockoff. Harambe's second close combat brings the Uber back down into the red, and then my jungle monkey surprisingly tanks a Sludge Bomb. So Valerie's forced into using yet another full restore as Sandstorm switches to an Acrobatics for the KO against Dragalge, and once again our close combat brings our foe back into the red. Or I guess the yellow since we low rolled. Valerie reveals Jinx as her third Pokemon, so the following turn sees an easy double KO as the poison from Dragalge's Poison Point then knocks out Sandstorm. So Caesar comes back out as Valerie brings in the dynamic duo of Parasect and Mawile. Sure, the latter can Mega Evolve, but Harambe's close combat gets the clean KO, and obviously so too does Caesar's Incinerate into Parasect. In the end, that wasn't as dangerous as I would have thought, but seeing Zekrom was the shock that my system needed. 25 floors remain, but first I can get my sixth and final monkey.
All right. Infernape, 8-Palm, Chimchar, there's Grafaiai, there's Monkey Dory, and Shroodle. Well, I ain't never used a Monkey Dory before, so...
Welcome to the fam, Mojo Jojo. As you may have guessed, this new teammate means that every single trainer will now have a full team of 6, which significantly increases the number of Pokemon on any given floor, especially those with 4 full trainers. The result is that for the first time in the playthrough, conserving power points is something I have to be actively aware of. Moves like Close Combat are great for taking big KOs, but I also need moves with enough PP to plow through the droves of unremarkables. Of course, there's starting to become less and less of those, as it now seems like most of my enemy's teammates are fully evolved, and they're even starting to consistently use legendaries, mythicals, ultra beasts, and paradox Pokemon. On the floor 80 rest stop, I start buying mints to optimize a handful of my monkey's natures, though I also make sure to purchase a PP max that'll give Harambe 16 drain punches instead of 10. So even as our foes continue to grow stronger, we too are becoming more and more powerful with each passing split. This next stretch is by no means easy. I can't just turn my brain off and button mash through every fight, but they also aren't overwhelmingly difficult. My level advantage is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. In previous playthroughs of the pit, I've played on Despair mode, which among other changes drastically reduces the XP you gain from battle to the point where you're pretty quickly underleveled when compared to your enemies. Essentially, Despair mode makes the pit less a question of can you make it to the end, and more one of how far can you make it before you die. I figured that the monkey pit would simply be too difficult on Despair mode to get to even floor 75. And damn it, I wanted a full team of 6 monkeys. That was the dream of a sweet and innocent little Flygon HG. But was that dream both a literal and figurative monkey's paw? Had I gotten my dream at the expense of an exciting and thrilling challenge? With this much raw monkey power, it once again seemed like nothing could stop me. Even on the rare occasion when one monkey would fall, usually Mojo Jojo, his teammates would always be there to avenge him, and I'd have enough healing items to bring him back for the very next fight. Again, these battles aren't easy. There's a handful of individual Pokemon that are actually pretty hard. But for every Mewtwo or Tapu Koko that threatens monstrous damage, there's also a Spewpaw or a Burmy that ensures we're never at risk of losing the run. Soon enough, I was at the final rest stop of floor 95, all my Pokemon already at level 100. I was convinced that this playthrough, which once showed such potential, would end with an anticlimactic fizzle. What could I possibly encounter that would threaten my team of monkeys? Most notably, the unholy god of death that was Harambe. And for 4 more floors, the answer was nothing. Another crop of feeble foes that failed to so much as dent my now hardened warriors. But then, on floor 100, the last floor of the monkey pit, it was time to face my final pit boss, Giovanni. And my god, did he deliver.
Oh, it's a double battle, and it starts with a Koraidon, and it's sun-boosted Cinderace. Okay, let's close Glizzy the Cinderace, and we're gonna Psychic the Koraidon. Just out. Oh my god, it's fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a ball game, and an absolutely horrifying one at that. I bring in Monkey 1 to replace Mojo Jojo, and then Koraidon, boosted by the sun, rips another Outrage for another one-shot. Cinderace comes down to hit a super effective bounce, but it's not even enough to bring Harambe into the yellow, who puts one on the board for our team with a critical hit close combat. Giovanni then brings in his second Fire-type starter as I send out Sandstorm. This is bad. I decide that my best bet is to use a max revive on Mojo Jojo, since as of roughly 2 minutes ago, he has access to Fake Out. Koraidon then breaks through confusion to rip a sun-boosted Flare Blitz that obviously one-shot Sandstorm, as Delphox then does the same to the run's MVP. Monkey 2 and Caesar come out next, but they've got nothing to deal meaningful damage to either of these monsters. So I use a Revival Herb on Sandstorm and go for a Spiky Shield with Monkey 2, which thankfully both Koraidon and Delphox hit into. There's just one last turn of sun left to stall out, and then Koraidon should be much more manageable. So on the next turn, I use another Revival Herb on Harambe and sacrifice both Monkey 2 and Caesar. They did their jobs, and now they can rest. With 2 free switch-ins, I bring in both Sandstorm and Mojo Jojo. The latter uses a Fake Out to stop Koraidon, and Sandstorm outspeeds Delphox to take the KO with a single knockoff. This brings in Giovanni's own monkey, who's far more manageable than his other 2 starters. I use yet another Revival Herb to bring Monkey 1 back from the dead as Koraidon rips another Outrage into Mojo Jojo. But without the boost from Orichalcum Pulse or whatever that's called, our mischievous little rascal lives to fire off an extremely powerful Psychic that finally takes the KO on the deadly legend. Rillaboom attempts an endeavor that fails, so Sandstorm and Mojo Jojo remain alive as Giovanni brings in his 5th Pokemon, Samurott. What the hell, is this guy just collecting all the starters? Using another Revival Herb, I bring Caesar back to full HP, and then Sandstorm shows off their loaded dice tech, hitting a guaranteed minimum of 4 Bullet Seeds to take the kill on Samurott. Sadly, that does let Rillaboom kill Mojo Jojo for the 2nd time this fight, so I bring in Monkey 1, and Giovanni sends out his final Pokemon, Mewtwo. We're not out of the woods yet. I use my final Revival Herb on Mojo Jojo as Mewtwo Mega Evolves into their fetal form. A Thunderbolt targets down Monkey 1, so he's not able to get off the acrobatics that would have hopefully finished off Rillaboom. After a Wood Hammer, I bring in Harambe, the idea being that Mewtwo can't kill both of my teammates. Giovanni chooses to target Harambe with a Psy Strike, but that finally lets me rip a massive super effective knockoff, though since it's not boosted, it's also not enough for the KO. But fortunately, it doesn't matter, because now Mojo Jojo can take the field for the 3rd and final time. A Fake Out causes Mega Mewtwo to flinch, ensuring that Sandstorm can rip a 2nd knockoff for the penultimate kill of the fight. All that's left is Rillaboom, one last monkey who falls from the double up of Psychic and U-turn, winning us not just the terrifying battle against Giovanni, but the entire run. With nothing but 6 monkeys, I had cleared through all 100 floors of the monkey pit for the first and only time in human history. This was an absurd challenge that in the end proved to be the exact level of difficulty I was hoping for. Huge shout out to Wiz for making my dreams of a monkey-only playthrough come true, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content. Wait, no, actually, this isn't a Nuzlocke. Stay tuned for more content. And until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.